Termites! It's night 21. How exciting is that? And it's almost 2021. We'll be done with 2020. I don't know how everybody didn't hire Barbara Walters last New Year's Eve to go, welcome to 2020. Talk about low-hanging fruit. Everybody missed it. At least as far as I know, I didn't see it happen anywhere. Excuse me, my back pillow is sinking in my chair. That's not helpful. There we go. So much better. Tree's still up. Bit of a fire hazard, you say? You are correct. But I'm not taking it down. I only put the lights on for like a little while so it doesn't get hot. I'm going to take it down like the second. But that. How long can a tree last before it spontaneously combusts? Does anyone have any information on that? I haven't giggled it. Oh, what are we drinking? A Montucky Cold Snack beer. This is the unofficial beer of Montana. Did you know that? It's unofficial. But they give back 8% of their profits, so they say. I don't know if it's true, but it's a tasty little treat. What else? Did you have a good Christmas, Termites? I did. I'll show you in the next video. Lewis got me some Bigfoot socks. That's pretty cool. I got the book. I got a couple books I really like. Good times. So we left off. Let's just get right into it, Termites. We're almost done. I think George Jones. It's not that I'm stuck on country. They're just funnier. They write funnier. The things are funnier. They're more outlandish too. But I'm up for other suggestions. So I read the YouTube comments. I try to answer a lot of them. But then if I feel like if I don't answer everybody, only some, then some people will go, well, shit, why did she answer that one and not mine? I would think that. So I'll get on that too this weekend. This is when she took her mama to the White House because Jimmy Carter said you could bring the best teacher you'd ever known. And she said, the best teacher I ever had was Mommy. I finally answered, she learned me more than anyone else in this world. Oh, she forgot, taught. She learned me. If I come to this White House thing, I'll be bringing my little mommy. Jimmy Carter said he hadn't known anyone who made that kind of nomination before. Most people picked school teacher. He said he'd call me back. Then he said, called and said, honey, bring your little mommy to the White House. We'd love to honor her, except in the Jimmy Carter accent, which is a little more refined. Honey, you bring your little mama to the White House. We'd love to honor her. That's how I hear Jimmy Carter in my mind. It was hard for Mommy to get out and do things. Her health wasn't all that good. By that time, them doggone 3 packs of unfiltered cigarettes she smoked every day had already claimed one lung and was ready to take the other and her life. 3 packs of unfiltered. Wow. I'm saying wow, and when I had cigarettes, I could smoke them. But unfiltered, oh, so hard. I mean, maybe she rolled her own too. And then people say that's more natural because there's not the chemicals in the paper, which is true. Have you ever seen like a Marlboro light in a black light? It's weird. People have posted videos online, like go on YouTube. Like in a nightclub or whatever, when they go to black light, the paper on the cigarette has stains all over it. That's chemicals. So Mommy was, if she rolled her own, she probably didn't need that kind of money. Mommy was as happy as I'd ever seen when I told her about it, and she loved going to the White House. We all sat there and waited for the announcement of the Teacher of the Year, other artists with their favorite teachers. Shoot, there were people from fancy universities in that room. I cannot remember the name of one college professor, mainly because I wasn't paying attention and I was in charge of the restaurant I worked at. I was in charge of the football pool, so I had USA Today open to the sports section because there was no giggle machine, and I had to go through and do a football pool. So that's probably why I don't remember the name of said teacher speaking. I probably only remember Chris Berman on ESPN. I don't really think he was officially just my teacher. I think he taught a lot of people a lot about football. My little mommy who never ever graduated from grade school. Oh, wait, we all sat there and waited for the announcement of Teacher of the Year. Other artists with their favorite teachers, the fancy university. My little mommy who never graduated from grade school won it! That's fantastic! Right out of the holler. Bring the trophy to that lady. She was all flustered when she was asked to come on stage. Mommy was a shy person when it came to things like public speaking. What should I say, she asked me. Just say thank you, I whispered. And that's what she'd done. I saw her cry for the second time in her life. The other was when Daddy died. I watched her walk across the oak floor in the White House and thought about the fact that she'd been born in a shack and raised in the mountains and had to kill a lot of squirrel and cook 'em. And that ain't easy cooking class 101. I'd say that's advanced. I know how to skin a squirrel. You ever seen it done? It's crazy. It's like a suit. It just comes right off. It's not something I recommend. I just happened to be there when, I don't know, my uncle did it. Just let them root around for their own. Although my mom says that my grandma Madigan really could cook the shit out of rabbit. Maybe I ate it and didn't even know it. Maybe it was rabbit and my grandma's spaghetti. I don't think so, though. He just let Mommy had lost her own mama by the time she was 5, and her daddy, my grandpa Ramey, that's the Indian that doesn't talk, didn't pay no attention to his kids. He just let them root around for their own food and for places to stay. It didn't take long before her little brother died and then his sister. I once asked Mommy what they did for a funeral for him. She said they didn't have no funeral. They just wrapped him up, dug a hole, and buried him herself. That's starting life out hard. Yeah, I'd say so. That just, kid's dead, put it in a hole. She raised 8 children in our little place in Old Butcher Holler, not more than a shack. And there she was, accepting an award in the White House. Later, when Mommy was looking at the table where President Franklin Roosevelt had signed the bill for the Works Projects Administration, WPA, into being, I thought about the fact it was because of the WPA that Daddy had once found work to put food on our table. That's before he got work in the mines. I bet Mommy remembered when her and her daddy went to vote when Roosevelt ran for president. Daddy was a Republican because his daddy was and his daddy before him. But Mommy was a Democrat, and she voted for Roosevelt. She loved him and thought he was a real friend of the working people of this country. And I personally agree with that. And my one grandpa hated Roosevelt. And I thought, how awful, because if you hate him, I mean, I wasn't alive then, but he was president for like 74 years. So I'm sure that anger grew and festered. She loved him and thought he was real. There was always a big show around our house when it came to elections. One time when they went to vote, Daddy ran down to the school first and cast his vote. I didn't have any idea who the Republican was he was voting for, but I do know that Mommy would run down to cast her vote and meet him coming back. Clary, he said, you're just going to kill my vote if you run down there. That's just what I mean to do, Mommy said. And that night, and that night at the White House, there stood Mommy looking at a table where the man she stood behind in every election had once sat. I couldn't speak much that night because I was too emotional. Every performer had been asked to perform, whether it was to dance or sing opera or sing country music, so I brought my guitar and I was prepared to sing Coal Miner's Daughter. Coal Miner's Daughter had been a hit several years earlier, but it was about to be revived because of my book coming out. I thought it was a fitting tribute to Mommy. I've sung that song thousands of times and hope to live to sing it 1,000 more, but the only time I ever had tears running down my cheeks was this night the whole way through. Oh my God, we are getting to some emotionally touching subjects here, people. Termites. I could start crying myself if I thought about it too hard. Consider myself lucky to have known 6 United States presidents. I can even count 2 of them as friends. President Jimmy Carter and President George Herbert Walker Bush. I used to say politics and music don't mix, so I was staying out of elections, but I did campaign for George Bush, and I want to help little George. Well, I guess I better say George W. I'm also going to Florida to campaign for Jeb Bush, and I plan on going through Florida like a dose of Epsom salts. I don't really understand that. I know what Epsom salt is, but what does that mean? And I think you do want to get involved in politics. This is a shitload of campaigning. I don't think I've ever done a show for any kind of political thing that I'm aware of. Mostly cystic fibrosis and autism. Otherwise, I don't stay out of it on Twitter. I get highly involved. But it's all just good fun, right? I do know for a fact, too, that Loretta, later on, as of now, was a Trumpy. I know that, too. So I don't know, maybe she should have called Jimmy Carter and he would have told her, here's why you do not want to go down that road. Or maybe she does because she's friends with Kid Rock and he likes him, too. There you go. I'll tell you some stories about the president I've known later, including a funny story on dude Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And aside from Teacher of the Year award from my mommy, there's an award I got in D.C. that just might be the biggest honor of my life. But if I ever felt like I was a woman out of place, that was the night. Oh no. This happened 10 years after my Entertainer of the Year award. George H.W. was the president. There's an organization called the American Academy of Achievement. Never heard of it. It gives an award called the Golden Plane to people who believe they serve as role models to young people looking for a way to achieve their dreams. In some of the papers they sent me, they even call those folks heroes. I sure wasn't feeling like no hero the night I went to D.C. for the ceremony. Since they said it was a formal dinner, I put on a long gown on and got myself all fussed up. My manager at the time, Dave Skipner, was with me. But they only allowed the folks being honored to sit at certain tables. So after he brung, they typed it out. I love it. After they brung me inside, I sat down, and it was among some of the strangest looking folks I'd ever seen. Now, some people may think hill people look different, meaning herself. Not really. All of her pictures in here look Depression era. And I think some of them were not. So, yeah, the outfits, yeah, they're a little over the top. But that didn't mean you don't look different. That just means you just dress different. And don't ever say differently, because that might be right. You stick with different. I'll tell you, look to the, hold on. I'm so sad y'all can't see the pictures. And her sons are very handsome. Well, all of her kids are really good looking, but the sons, the one that, I don't have, yeah, the one died, but anyway. You look at all the other scientists and geniuses, and they tell me a hillbilly looks funny. Tuh. One of the men I was sitting with had curly, fuzzy hair sticking up around a bald spot, glasses worn down on low on his nose. Well, them is called reading glasses, and I don't know why that would be strange. They were selling them like hotcakes at Walgreens, which is where I got mine. In case anyone was wondering, these are Foster Grants. Remember when that was the thing? Are you wearing Foster Grants? They're $20. Somebody asked me, these are not my real glasses. I have contacts in right now, but now I need these too. It's all fucked up, and I just don't feel like going to LensCrafters because every time I go, it's a shit show. All right. They look like they might have their minds on something a million miles away, and they probably did. I tried starting up a conversation by asking what these men did for a living. Good for her. The first one I asked said his daddy had founded Johnson & Johnson. I then turned on an old man on my other side and asked him what he did. He said he split the atom. Well, I was between an atom splitter and the head of a huge corporation. The fellow from Johnson & Johnson asked me what I did, and I said the real thing to know was what I was fixing to do. I was fixing to crawl out of that room under them tables because I sure didn't belong in a room with people who could split atoms. Well, why the fuck not? Can they write Coal Miner's Daughter? No, they can't. Can they write, I'm forgetting all the other ones. What was the one? Cowboy Twitty? Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man. That one? Could they write that? No. Of course, I didn't crawl out. My long gown wouldn't have allowed me to do any crawling anyway. I stayed and accepted the award, and I will tell you it is the one thing I'm most proud of in my life. The Golden Plane Award is now located in my new museum in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, which is where Termites on Highway 40 between Memphis and Nashville. So if you're ever going, stop. Now that you've read the book, it'll mean so much more. Which brings me to, I never heard of this Golden Plane Award. Plate. Wow, see? I got to pull this lamp. I need better light. Come here. Come here, lamp. This lamp isn't normally here. I brought it here for effect. Tried to design my own sets. Turns out I'm not a good set designer. I've never heard of the Golden Plane, which doesn't exist, or the Golden Plate Award. probably because I can't split atoms, nor do I own a corporation, nor did I write 7,000 country #1 hits. Which brings me to another point. The Teacher of the Year award that Mommy got is located in my sister Crystal Gale's home in Nashville. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. That's what some of the older hillbilly guys I golf with sometimes. We got them. One of them, they all love Trump. And one of them goes, well, I think this whole thing, this COVID, was to bring Trump down. And I said, but like Ireland went along with that, and Italy, and India, they wanted to bring down Trump. And then he just goes, well, now, Kathleen, I don't know nothing about all that. Well, that's not the end of the argument. You just can't go, I don't know nothing about all that. That's part of it. And then we just laugh and keep golfing. So it's at Crystal Gale's home. She doesn't talk about Crystal that much either. I asked Crystal to bring it out to my museum so I could put it in the tribute section for Mommy. But Crystal ain't done it yet. So, Crystal, if you're reading this book, you better hustle that award out here. Wow. Wow, that's just a personal little side note in her head that she's throwing in the book. Remember, I was a pretty good sneak thief back in my watermelon stealing days. And for any friends or fans reading this, if you hear I'm in jail for breaking an entry, could you come on down to Nashville and go my bail? Go my bail. And go my bail. Not get, not post. Go my bail. Crystal, I don't know when this book was written, but you better hightail your ass on out to Hurricane Mills with that trophy. She's still alive. I know that for a fact. Had a stroke and came back from it. Chapter 16, for you nerdy termites, that's page 188, and I'm with you on that. Oh, chapter 16, doing the television circuit. Oh, this is going to be so good. My career went into high gear after I won Entertainer of the Year. I bet that Golden Plate Award didn't do much. Who the fuck's even heard of it? I know the Nobel Peace Prize, where there's scientists and all that. I'm going to have to look that up. The Golden Plate Award. Huh. I certainly don't know anyone that's gotten it. I can tell you that. Nobody in my sphere, at my lake bar, or the golf course. Although I don't know, a couple of those old guys are super smart. My career went into high gear after I won Entertainer of the Year. I even got me a publicist. And here's an example of why I needed one, and some examples of television shows I got booked on. Dew hated the road and usually stayed home, but one time Dew came along the trip. We was walking through Los Angeles airport, and I seen a magazine on the news shelves. Looky there, Dew, I said inside the airport. There's a magazine. That's why. It's hard to read in hillbilly sometimes. I have enough trouble reading correctly without mumbling. I was always in trouble in grade school and at home for mumbling. It's because I lose interest in stuff. I say, like, I haven't mumbled much through this book, but in real life, it's just, yeah. Anyway, that there is the magazine that done the interview with me. I forgot that it's supposed to be in this month's. Let's buy it and see what they wrote. It was the first issue of Penthouse magazine. What the dickens are you doing, woman? This is some high-class filth. I didn't know what kind of magazine it was. Right, I don't know what the Golden Plate Award is. They could tell me and I'd fly right up there and I have no idea. I'd done an interview with a magazine filled with naked women and their poses made Playboys seem modest. My name was plastered all over the cover. Next is some woman with boobs about to fall off. You better hide this from Mama. You better hope Mama don't get out of the holler and get herself to a gas station and see this shit. She didn't wear nothing but a smile. I was embarrassed to death. Dew hit the fan. Wasn't long before I had me a publicist to advise me about what magazines to get in, but the Penthouse article was real good. A young fellow named David Brokaw was working for the public PR firm in L.A. that represented MCA Records, my label at the time. Why would the label have not given this woman a publicist to begin with? You're just going to let Hillbilly Holler decide, clearly doesn't know. Well, hi. Well, sure, I'll do an interview, which is very nice, but it's not really the branding we're looking for. Before Decker Rhodes records was folded into MCA, the label had put out what they call a bio on me. She has that in quotes. Even normal people have that. That's not about a show business thing. A paper that gives some of the history of the artist. David was about 24 when he read it. When he saw the lines about me being married at 13, mother of 4 by 18, grandmother at 29. 29. A grandma. One time, I was in Walmart sneaking, me and my mom, because my dad says we're not allowed to go in there, and I don't like to go in there either. But it was something specific my mom needed. I don't know. So, but I had my sister's twins. They were like 5, maybe. And the cashier lady, who I believe was about my age, said, "Oh, you just have such cute grandbabies." And I thought, I need better lotion. I need to go fix myself. And then my mom wasn't standing there, and then she came over. And then the cashier looked at her and said, "You just seem young to have these great grandbabies." I thought my mom was going to smack her in the face. If she still smoked, she'd have had a lighter. She'd have set the lady on fire. And I'm like, yeah, but I just got called a grandma. And we laughed when we left because I had called my sister and I said, "You're twins," because I had them. I just got called a grandma. She goes, "Well, Kathleen, most people in that Walmart probably are grandmas by the time they're 40. I'm like, yeah. She was a grandma at 29. Holy shit. He like to fell over when he heard all this, but my story interested him and he wanted to start representing me. Oh, bingo. She should have been assigned a person. It was David who first started talking about a book or a movie about the story of my life. Good for you, David. David Brokaw. I wonder if that's any relation to Tom Brokaw. He wasn't no hillbilly, that's for sure. He had a college degree in political science and was one class away from another degree in English literature. He'd quit his job in school and started his own business. Here's what he told me one time. "I went from reading Shakespeare and Keats to reading the lyrics of Loretta Lynn." I love it when people think those things are hilarious. "I heard of Shakespeare, but I didn't know nobody named Keats." Well, if they ain't in the holler, why the fuck would you know them? And why the fuck should you know them? Better question. Because you ain't going to know their character just by some book they wrote. You ain't going to know how they really act. David's first 3 clients was me, Lou Rawls, and Ricardo Montalban. I believe, I'd have to giggle it, but he was the leader of Fantasy Island. I think it was Ricardo Montalban. He was very handsome, if that's the guy. I got Mickey Gilly to join with us, and Mickey and I are still with David's agencies all these years later. Well, why didn't I find this publicist? This guy sounds exactly, I mean, obviously he'd have had to have a son, but sounds what's the firm? They sound wonderful. Sandy, his brother, joined David at the publicity firm. Today they have one of the largest and most successful publicity firms in the entire entertainment industry. Well, what the fuck is it? I love those boys like family. First thing David Brokaw did for my career was to book me on network television. Oh, it's going to get good. But in 1972, he had a tough road to hoe with that job. "We don't usually use country acts on this show," the producers kept telling him. Well, The Tonight Show did. Because I remember being a little kid and watching Glenn Campbell singing, "Like a rhinestone cowboy." And my parents are like, "We have to get that album immediately." And my parents listened to everything. Country, that was the 70s. Disco, there'd be Donna Summer on one day and then Glenn Campbell the next. It was a good variety though, never boring. I might have been doing good in the rest of the country, but Hollywood still wouldn't have me. They thought I was too country, too hillbilly. One of the first shows I did was the Dinah Shore Show. Dinah was from Nashville. I did not know that. And she had 2 network shows that ran together for 10 years, one at 6 and one for 4. I was lucky and got a hit on both programs. Wow, look at Dinah Shore. Remember vaguely my grandma watching that. I remember a TV tray, a highball, and a Raleigh cigarette. And she would say, "We're going to watch Dinah Shore," and we would watch Merv Griffin. And we would play canasta. And then I would count all the labels from her Raleigh cigarettes. They had coupons in the back of the smokes. She'd save bags of them, and then I would save them and send them in for stuff. I believe I got a baseball glove one time, a real one. What? Rawlings. Yep, they were better in person than they were in the magazine. In fact, every time I had a new record, I performed a song on one of Dinah's shows. Good for her. Dinah Shore in the 70s was about as powerful as Oprah Winfrey became in the 90s. Dinah Show sure could help a record. First time I worked her show, I did Here I Am Again. The song shot to number 3 in Billboard. Later that year, I did a show and sang a song a few days later before it was released. It was called Rated X. It even got crossover play. That means the song was so popular that it's played on airplay, crossed over to radio stations that didn't usually play music, country music, but played rock or some other kind of music like disco, which was popular at the time. Through them years, me and Dew made mighty good friends, and Fred Shore, Diana's TV producer, and Fred's wife, Marianne, who did fashion tips on Dinah's show. Now, Fred is a practical joker, and so was I back in them days. I still like a good prank as long as no one's feelings get hurt, no harm is done. So Fred come to me and said his wife had made a special belt for me. I told him it was a beautiful thing for her to do. Oh, yes, it's a beautiful belt, but when she gives it to you on camera, I want you to tell her it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. That's funny. I agreed to play along, but because I thought we'd have our laugh and Fred would edit it out of the tape before he put it on the TV. Well, there you go. Now you're getting tricked by the TV people. And that's never good. Well, I'm going to save that story for the next time there, Termites. We're going to find out what happened on the Dinah Shore Show. Did you know Liberace had a daytime show? My grandma used to watch that too. It was shoe buddy. It was a lot. And then I read the Liberace biography deal. Maybe we should read Liberace's. Huh? That would be funny. Fun. But they put him on during the day because they thought he was too much, which would equal back then probably too gay, too flamboyant, let's just say, maybe not even gay. So they put him on in the daytime to, like, you know, the old ladies will like him, which they did. Because I remember my grandpa always making fun of him. And then my grandma would go, John, he's a showman. There you have it. All right, Termites, this is the last story time of 2020. Isn't that exciting? We started this year. We've made it this far. I hope everybody that started this is still okay. You've all been very nice to one another. Some of you have made the cheese ball that I put on. What else? That's really all I got. Happy New Year. I read Nostradamus' predictions for 2021. I would suggest you don't. Just in your mind say it's going to be better. There's no reason to get online and look at that stuff. There's also another mystic I talk about in my podcast, Baba Vanga. Have you ever heard of her? She's from Bulgaria. She went blind when she was 12, and then she did predict a lot of things that were right. She was pretty dead on about 9/11, Kennedy, like all that stuff. And you might not want to read her predictions either. Although she did say there'd be a cure for cancer in 2021. She did not specify what kind of cancer. So if she was still alive, I think I'd have to go back and re-interview her, but she's not. She died in like 1984 or 85. All right, Termites. We're just going to pretend like it's going to be a fabulous year, right? Why not? And I will still even try to do these if I'm free to run back on the road and roam around the country as I used to be free to do. Safely. I know I can still go get on a plane. But we can't really do a theater show, can we now? A couple people have tried, and guess what they got? COVID. Yep. It's the gamble you take that I'm not willing to take. If I'm going to die, it's going to be over something I purposely did. You know what I'm saying? Like smoking too much or something I enjoyed at the time. All right, Termites. I hope you're all healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I still haven't got my flannel sheets yet. I don't know what the goddamn hold. Thank God they weren't a Christmas present. It's still not here. The mail's been slow. I blame the postmaster, Louis Dujois. What a bastard. You didn't fuck with the post office, the one thing that works like clockwork in this goddamn country. You go in and start dismantling it. There's about 5 hilarious black women that work at my post office, and I would dare that motherfucker to go in there. They would wring his neck sideways and throw him out on his ass. Oh, no. Yeah, they'd have him for lunch, and they should, because they're great. That place runs like clockwork. All right, that's enough of that, termites. Pull your sheets up. You're worthy termites. You are dedicated termites. You are kind to each other on YouTube comment boards. Can't say that about a lot of people. All you guys have been very nice and helpful, sharing recipes, other book ideas. It's a good thing. A lot of that stuff can get off the rails. So I'm glad this one hasn't. And pull your sheets up. Ready? You ready for it? 2020. Close your eyes and it won't be 2020 anymore. Night, night, termites.